Welcome to This Explainer. If you are preparing for the Cambridge AS and A-Level Accounting 1976 exam, you are exactly where you need to be. I am your master coach, and today we are operating in our digital studio with two incredible scholars. We're going to tear down one of the most deceptively simple topics on the syllabus, the purpose and limitations of a trial balance.
Hi everyone, I'm Alex. I usually crush the calculations and the formulas, but these open-ended written evaluation questions always seem to trip me up. I feel like I write everything I know, but I don't get the marks.
And I'm Sam. I actually love the debate side of accounting and making arguments, but I really struggle with structural precision and managing my time in the exam hall. I always run out of time before I can finish my point.
That is exactly why we are all here. Many candidates look at a prompt about a trial balance and immediately think, oh, easy marks. But the data from the Cambridge Principal Examiner reports tells a very, very different story. We are going to look at exactly why that is, where the traps are hidden, and most importantly, how you can guarantee those top-tier marks every single time. Let's start with a high-stakes reality check. A senior examiner recently issued a direct warning. They said, most students lose easy marks on the purpose and limitations of a trial balance. But after this explainer, you won't be one of them. Look, this happens year after year. Students walk out of the exam hall feeling absolutely confident, only to get their results and wonder where on earth the marks went.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened to me in my last mock exam. I knew exactly what a trial balance was. I defined it perfectly. But I completely bombed the high-tariff 12-mark question.
Right. Because the issue isn't that candidates don't know the definition of a trial balance. The issue is how you all respond to complex, high-tariff evaluation questions, those 9 to 15-mark beasts. The examiner isn't just checking if you've memorized a textbook chapter. They are testing your ability to deploy critical thinking strategies under intense time pressure. We need to bridge that gap today. So, let's put this central question on our interactive board. Why do students find evaluating evidence and drawing conclusions so incredibly hard? To understand this, we have to deeply dissect the anatomy of Cambridge command words. Alex, what's the difference between analyze and evaluate?
Well, I guess analyze means breaking down the mechanics, right? Like looking at how the trial balance is put together and spotting the mathematical relationships.
Spot on. But Sam, what happens when the command word shifts to evaluate? Evaluate means we have to make a judgment, right? It's not just about how the trial balance works, it's about looking at a specific business scenario and judging how useful the trial balance actually is for that specific business owner. Exactly. And what about explain versus to what extent? Explain is just giving the why. You're just laying out facts. But to what extent is a trap if you aren't careful? It demands a counterargument. It demands you explore the hidden constraints of the prompt and ultimately deliver a final, weighted verdict. When a question asks you to evaluate the limitations of a trial balance, that leap from memorization to application and final judgment is exactly where the marks are dropped.
So here is our clear roadmap for today's explainer. 1. The trial balance trap. 2. Decoding core principles. 3. Technical methodology. 4. Critical examiner alerts. And 5. Master the trial balance. Let's move right into it.
Section 1. The trial balance trap. Moving beyond superficial answers.
Let's transition into our digital study suite. Alex, Sam, let's look at a sample 12-mark question on the board. Evaluate the limitations of relying solely on a trial balance for assessing the financial health of Carter's retail business. How are you two tackling this?
Okay, well, my instinct is to immediately write down all 6 errors that don't affect the trial balance. Errors of omission, commission, principal, original entry, compensating errors, and complete reversal. That's pure factual knowledge. I want to show the examiner I know all of them.
But wait, Alex, doesn't that just give a generic list? The prompt specifically mentions Carter's retail business. I feel like we need to talk broadly about how retail businesses have a lot of fast-moving inventory, so maybe errors of original entry are way more likely to happen. We should focus on concepts, not just listing facts.
This is the exact debate that decides whether you get a grade C or an A star. Listen to me very carefully. The assessment framework prioritizes analytical depth over superficial breadth. Alex, if you just scattergun all 6 errors, you are demonstrating breadth. You're giving a superficial answer. Examiners don't want a generic list of 10 things. Sam, you're closer. They want 2 or 3 highly relevant points analyzed deeply within the context of Carter's business. Academic benchmarks require logical, structured reasoning.
Section 2. Decoding core accounting principles. The 3 cognitive domains.
To beat the examiner, you have to understand exactly what they are testing beneath the surface of the prompt. We're going to look at the 3 marking bands, which Cambridge calls assessment objectives, AO1, AO2, and AO3.
Okay, so AO1 is knowledge and understanding, right?
Exactly, Alex. AO1 is simply identifying that a trial balance checks arithmetical accuracy. It's basic. It's your list of 6 errors. But you cap out on marks very quickly there.
So then AO2 is analysis. Is that where we apply it to the scenario?
Yes. AO2 is looking at the provided data, spotting an error of principle, like Carter buying a delivery van but recording it as motor expenses, and showing exactly how it affects his accounts, even though the trial balance still magically balances.
Okay, that makes sense. So how do we unlock the top tier? How do we hit AO3 evaluation?
AO3 demands that you step back and make a judgment. You have to challenge assumptions. You have to weigh alternative interpretations. For Carter, a balanced trial balance might give him a false sense of security, leading him to make poor investment decisions because his actual profit is heavily overstated by that error of principle we just talked about. Successful candidates don't just hit one domain. They weave AO1, AO2, and AO3 together in a structured argument.
Section 3, Step-by-Step Technical Methodology. Unlocking the method mark strategy. All right, let's pause our session right here. We are about to draft a model response paragraph by paragraph, and we are going to tackle the absolute hardest part of this evaluation problem. But before we reveal the ultimate cognitive strategy to get unstuck, I need you to do something absolutely crucial. Crushing these exams isn't about luck, it's about consistent, proven strategy. So if you want to master these techniques, you need to subscribe to the channel Ace the Exams IGCSE and A-Levels at the handle @AceTheExam_IGCSE. Hit that subscribe button right now on your screen and enable all notifications by clicking that bell icon so you never ever miss a weekly Cambridge breakthrough strategy. Okay, let's get back to the drafting board. Alex, Sam, try to write the first analytical paragraph for Carter's business.
Okay, I'll start. A limitation of the trial balance is an error of omission. This is when a transaction is completely missed. Therefore, Carter won't know his true financial position, and this is bad for his retail business.
And stop. You both just hit a major roadblock. Look at the text on the screen. What's wrong with it?
Well, it feels a bit basic. I'm not really linking my knowledge to the data effectively.
And I didn't really evaluate anything. I just said it was bad. I'm struggling with the structural precision here.
Exactly. You are missing the method marks. In Accounting 9760, marks are awarded for the analytical process itself. Here is your standardized, repeatable 4-step procedural framework to get unstuck. We call it the DEV method. DEEV. Step 1. Deconstruct the question. We know it's evaluate. Step 2. Extract relevant data from the stimulus text. Step 3. Execute the analysis using clear notation. Step 4. Verify your results. Let's apply DEEV right now.
Using the DEV framework, we are going to rewrite that flawed section out loud right now. Let's move this from a mediocre answer to a flawless full-mark response. We are in the execute phase. You must extract from texts, interpret relationships, and draw evidence-based conclusions. Okay, let me try extracting real data. According to the stimulus, Carter's retail business processes over 500 credit sales a week. Because of this high volume, there is a significant risk of errors of original entry, such as recording a $500 sale as $5. Excellent AO2 application, Alex. Now, Sam, bring it home with AO3 evaluation. Connect the cause to the effect.
While the trial balance will still balance, giving Carter a false assurance of accuracy, the effect of this error is that his sales revenue and trade receivables will both be understated by $450. Ultimately, relying solely on the trial balance is a severe limitation because it masks true profitability, potentially causing Carter to secure insufficient working capital from the bank.
Boom! Do you see the difference? You used correct terminology, you applied the exact numbers, you formulated a powerful argument. Evidence-based conclusions are the only conclusions that count.
Section 4. Critical Examiner Alerts. Avoiding Common Pitfalls. Welcome to our immersive visual workshop. I am going to present high-stakes warnings pulled directly from Cambridge Principal Examiner reports. First up, Visual Question 1. Look at the text comparison on the interactive board. The absolute #1 classic mistake is giving generic answers instead of context-specific ones. I'm putting a 60-second visual countdown timer on the screen. Look at this excerpt from a past paper about a business owner named Sarah who has an inexperienced bookkeeper. A generic answer would be, a limitation of a trial balance is that it doesn't reveal compensating errors. Right. And what does the examiner give that? A minimal mark, maybe 1 point for AO1. So the context-specific answer needs to pull Sarah's specific situation into the paragraph. Because the prompt explicitly states Sarah relies on an inexperienced bookkeeper, there is a substantially higher risk of compensating errors occurring and masking true profitability, therefore making the trial balance an unreliable sole indicator of her business health. Spot on, Sam. You absolutely must link every single point to the given scenario. If you write an answer that could apply to any business in the world, you are losing marks.
Let's move to visual question 2 in our workshop, Spot the Flaw. I'm displaying a poorly written student answer on the board. The prompt asks for the effect of an unrecorded invoice on the financial statements. The student wrote, "The limitation here is an error of omission, which is caused when the bookkeeper forgets to enter the invoice into the purchases daybook. Find the flaw." Wait, they just described how the error happened. They described the cause. Precisely. The second major trap examiners warn about is confusing cause versus understanding effect. They explicitly report that students mix these up all the time. The cause is the fundamental error, omitting the invoice, but the effect is what that error does to the financial statements. So the correct answer would be, the effect is that the trial balance will still balance, giving an illusion of accuracy, but both the purchases account and the trade payables account are understated, leading to an overstated net profit. Exactly, Alex. If you are asked for the effect and you only describe the cause, you get a 0 for that section. You must distinguish between what happened and the mathematical consequence of what happened.
Let's synthesize this workshop. Burn these top 3 examiner mistakes into your memory right now. 1. Confusing cause and effect. Do not tell me how the mistake happened if I ask you what the mistake does to the profit. 2. Forgetting format and presentation. Yes, even in written evaluation questions, if you include workings, you need proper headings and standard accounting layouts. Presentation matters. And 3. Providing generic answers that ignore the specific context of the business in the question. Avoid these 3 traps, and you literally elevate yourself into the top percentile of candidates globally.
Section 5. Master the trial balance. Final examiner takeaways.
All right, team, it's time to consolidate these mastery techniques. We need to focus heavily on the highest cognitive level, evaluation.
This was my biggest breakthrough today. I realized that when a question asks us to evaluate, it involves evaluating alternatives, comparing approaches, and providing justified recommendations. Before today, I would just list the benefits of a trial balance in one paragraph and then list the limitations in the next.
That's a very common mistake, Sam. That's just a juxtaposed list. Comparative analysis requires identifying both similarities and differences simultaneously. You need to use comparative connectives.
You mean words like whereas, conversely, or however?
Exactly, Alex. You don't just list them, you compare them directly. While a trial balance is highly efficient at verifying arithmetical accuracy, AO1, it is inherently limited by its inability to detect errors of principle, AO2. Therefore, relying solely on it is dangerous for the specific business, AO3. Support each side with evidence from the data and draw a justified conclusion about its overall usefulness.
My biggest breakthrough is definitely understanding that I can't just rely on my factual memory. Breadth doesn't equal depth.
I love it. Now here is a quick, actionable memory hack before you sit your actual exam. I want to synthesize this entire masterclass into 3 core, memorable pillars for you to use. Pillar 1, the 3-step question scan, identifying the command word, the business context, and the data points. Pillar 2, the paragraph balance formula, ensuring every paragraph has AO1, AO2, and AO3. And Pillar 3, the last 5 minutes review checklist, where you check for cause versus effect errors. To lock in your drafting process, use our DEEV mnemonic: deconstruct, extract, execute, verify. Create mental checklists using the first letters of key terms so that when the exam pressure hits, you don't freeze. You just rely on your procedural system.
Let's wrap up with the absolute core takeaways for mastering the purpose and limitations of a trial balance. 1. Apply a methodical, step-by-step analytical process to secure those method marks every time. 2. Link every single evaluation strictly to the specific context of the prompt. Absolutely no generic textbook answers are allowed. 3. Always double-check your format, presentation, and ensure you are using professional accounting terminology.
I want to leave you with a provocative question. How will you apply this framework to your next past paper practice? Look, information without execution is completely useless. I challenge you to pull up a high-tariff trial balance question today. Use the DEEV framework, force yourself to write context-specific evaluations, and watch your mark scheme alignment absolutely transform. Crushing Cambridge exams requires consistent, relentless strategy. Do not leave this to chance. Hit the subscribe button for Ace the Exam's IGCSE O and A levels at the handle @acetheexam_IGCSE right now. Turn on that notification bell for future exam hacks and leave a comment down below with your target grade so we can hold you accountable. Alex, Sam, fantastic work today. And to you watching, I will see you in the next explainer.